all of us have our favorite something that makes us feel good and our go-to, and I'm sure there's plenty other things that we like. But my question about that is, we got another answer here. Oh, chocolate ice cream, yes. When you feel sad or upset or anxious or bored or stressed or whatever you're feeling in the moment. Welcome, Cindy. How are you? We're just listing our favorite desserts or foods in the chat. When you have those very varied emotions, are there times that you turn to that particular food that you named or something else? Welcome, Catherine. Yes, I'm getting a lot of hearts. Yep, everybody, just about. Well, you definitely aren't alone because, I mean, everybody does it. When we eat in response to our emotions, that's called emotional eating. And it's usually automatic. We don't have to think about it. It's just something that we do, you know, almost just like a robot in a sense. And it's actually something that I've dealt with the majority of my life. Now, we all know that, welcome, is it Mia? Mia DePaula? Ooh, Cindy says chili mangoes. Okay, now that's interesting. Is that with like a type of seasoning, like tahini, maybe? Cindy? Okay. Yes, she says yes. Okay. Welcome, Mia. I see that you're new. Welcome to Circles. I don't know if you've been in any rooms previously, but we have, mic on the left. You can unmute yourself or, give me a heart or raise your hand if you want to say something at any time, okay? So we're just talking about our favorite desserts, kind of just getting, the ice broken in the room. And basically what I'm saying is that we can't survive without food and water. We know that. But research shows us that when we eat certain foods, they can stimulate the reward center of our brain. When you eat those foods that you named, how does it usually make you feel? And go ahead and add that to the chat or just speak out. How do you feel after that?
Good.
Good, right? Yes, we've got happy, content, satisfied. Yes. And there is a correlation between certain types of foods. Do you think it's only these type of foods? Like we got spaghetti, but we mostly got a lot of sweets. Do you think it's a correlation? Welcome, Icy, between sweet foods or pastas or any other type of food? Any ideas about why those foods make us feel good?
I mean, it feels
Welcome,
satisfied
Lillian.
after a tie. This is Cindy. I feel like you get a sense of satisfaction, and there's something about that as to what I might be like lacking at the moment. So I don't know
Mm,
if that has to do anything with that.
very interesting. Yeah. Welcome, Barsha. Yeah, basically, all of the fats and carbs or starchy foods that we eat, those are all the types of things that make our brain say, "Ooh, yes, I love this. Give me more. I want more of it, more of it, more of it." And it's all the stuff that's good going down, right? It tastes so good. The cakes, the pies, the donuts, chips, pasta, and so on. And our lives tend to revolve around food. We all celebrate with food. When someone accomplishes something, we celebrate. Somebody cooks, or we go out to eat. Welcome, Beth. Or if someone is sick or not feeling well, we, make them a meal or we bring them something or we order food for them. When we bury a loved one, we console each other over food. Go ahead, Christine. You had
It
a
brings
question?
comfort.
Yes.
It That's why, mostly I know that there's sweets and everything, but it's mostly comfort food. Anything with a carb or it just I don't know, it kind of makes you think of home and
Mhm.
just makes you feel protected. Whether
Mhm.
your home life was um rocky or you have, childhood trauma or anything like that, it's still just, I don't know, it's just something in your brain that triggers comfort.
Yeah, yeah, because it's those memories. And like you said, regardless of what your home life was, it takes you back to the times when those foods were made or those foods were, brought into the home, and it takes you back to that little space and time. Yeah, very good point. Icy?
Hey, do you guys have any advice on like I know it says emotional eating, but like when you're super emotional and like your anxiety's really high, like not eating or having to like force yourself to eat things, like everything sounds disgusting and that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like just the thought of actually having to chew and eat and swallow, like because sometimes I get so anxious that there's days that go by that it's like it feels impossible to actually eat. So I usually like drink applesauce or drink yogurt. So like, you guys have any advice on that?
I do have some advice that I'm going to get to towards the end, some tips that and an activity as well. So if you want to hang on for that, I definitely have some stuff to share. Bobby?
Yeah, that's really funny because the only time I got spaghetti at home when I was younger was on my birthday. That was about it.
Really?
So and when I become anxious and frustrated, that's when I can't stop eating. I try to curb
Mm,
it. But the sweets have been like downward because I go to a therapist for private and he does hypnosis. I used to eat a box of Twinkies like it was nothing.
mm-hmm.
And he did hypnosis on me. I look at the box and I want to throw up.
Really?
Yeah, and it's most of the sweets. Maybe I could, if I buy like cinnamon rolls, I might take one or two, and I by the end of the week, I got to throw the rest of the box out because it's stale. I just can't stomach it. So
Yeah.
mine is more when I really get frustrated and I just like want to, then I eat more.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, like I said, I've dealt with that the most of my life, and for some it's sweets, and for some it's something else. It's just whatever that food is. And I think it's interesting that you said that you only got spaghetti on your birthday, and that's something that you use to, you know, help you through whatever emotion. That's your safe food. That's your go-to. Welcome to Lashandra. I think I saw Sasha. Jenny, welcome all. We're just going over our favorite desserts and foods and how they make us feel when we eat them. Christine, you had a comment?
Yes, I wanted to speak about what Icy said, um, because, you know, I too had a period in my life where I was so anxious and having panic attacks and anxiety attacks that even now, sometimes even the thought of looking at food makes me so nauseous that I want to throw up. Um, and a lot of things that got me through that time was, you know, the Ensures, um,
Mm-hmm.
to just get the calories. Even if I took like five little sips, it helped me a lot. Um, but I just wanted to tell AC that she's not alone and understand where she's coming from.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's definitely a good point. The insurers, the protein shakes, something that has, nutrients in it until whatever that moment is that passes. But then, there's some other things that I will give you as tips as well. Um, Welcome to everybody else that just joined in. I didn't catch all the names. But it's interesting that I think I was saying also, we celebrate over food. We have food when we have to bury someone. We also connect with others over food. Breakfast. Let's meet for breakfast. Let's meet for lunch or dinner. It's a natural way of life. But what's interesting is that a study done by Yale found that our brain actually prefers fatty snacks and carbs, even when we have healthier options that are available. They did over 200 participants that took part in the study. And what they did was they actually scanned the people's brains while they were shown different pictures of food that was higher in fat and sugar and carbs. And then they also showed them pictures of their favorite foods in very large quantities. Guess what happened? The foods that contained the higher amounts of fats and carbs made the brain go off. It had a higher response than the other foods. Like when we eat those good, rich foods and those satisfying foods, our brain releases dopamine, which makes us feel good, like someone said. It makes us feel content. And by the way, if anyone wants to read about this study, it was published in a journal called Cell Metabolism. And I'll just add that in here real quick. And type. Okay. So we know that when we eat those foods, we get content, we feel good, we feel happy, and our brain just, gives these types of foods a higher value. But in actuality, too much of them can be damaging to our health because too much sugar ages us. It damages our organs, makes our skin age faster, not to mention, heart disease and all the other things that we can get. But the downside of all of that, you feel good in that moment, but then later on, what happens? You crash. You feel sleepy, lethargic. With me having an autoimmune illness, my joints hurt, my head hurts. I mean, I just feel, like crap. And it's like, oh, it was so good in the moment, but then you kick yourself, dang, why did I eat that? Knowing what it was going to do, but it was what I needed in that moment, or what I thought I needed in that moment. Welcome, is it Rupali? I don't know if I'm saying it correctly.
Hi, yes, thank you.
Hi. So what we're talking about is how our body and our brain wants and craves the higher fats and carbs, as opposed to the good stuff, the veggies, the fruits, the things that our body really needs and are able to process in the right way. Me personally, when I was going through my cravings for food and consumed them in unusually high quantities rather, it made whatever I was feeling in those moments disappear. It was like food calmed me when I couldn't express myself, or either when I chose to just ignore, right? Because it's easier to just ignore it in the moment and just go for whatever that thing is, right? My brain forgot about my worries, my concerns, my anxiety that I was going through. Like I was mentioning before, not even thinking about the damage that I was causing to my insides. And it was when I was in therapy, and I think someone else mentioned therapy. I'm definitely an advocate for that. I think we all need to be in therapy, regardless of what you think is wrong or not wrong. But my therapist said, you've got to get to the root of why you're leaning or turning towards the food instead of, number one, going to God, because I'm a woman of faith. Number two, utilizing other resources that can help us. And then she says, you have kids, you have grown kids, you want to be a grandmother one day. Who's going to have to take care of you when you're not well? Is that fair to them? And it's like, wow, I've got to get a handle on this. Anybody can relate to that? Katrina? Yeah. Jeremy getting a lot of hearts here. Cindy, go ahead. Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Yeah, and it's tough, So when we think about, we all have a right to, someone has something to say, sound like someone was talking. No? Okay. We all should be able to express our emotions. It's normal. We should be able to feel them instead of using the food to numb ourselves. So what are some of the common triggers that cause us to eat emotionally? Well, I think everybody knows, there's health issues. You get a health diagnosis, you get your lab reports back, and, some things come up that you didn't expect. We have work stress with deadlines and, all the things that come along with the office environment or whatever you do. Financial problems. If it's not, this bill is that bill. It's the price of this is going up, gas, all the things that we need to survive day to day. And then also relationship problems, whether it's, personal, marital, familial, all these things can trigger us to want to eat emotionally. But then there are things that we may not think about. Anybody care to guess about some other triggers we may have? You can unmute or put them in the chat. Okay, Icy has a question. Did you experience really high anxiety for a long time when trying to heal from abuse, like for a long time? If so, does your book talk about that? Yeah, I did. I don't know if you listened to my onboarding call with Jeff, but evidently they're all on Spotify about a week or probably about 3 to 4 days after each class. So if you haven't, you can go back and listen to it. It's called Unraveling Unexpected Departures. And so it's kind of hard to say just yes, because my abuse started from the age of 8, and then I was abused and I was assaulted as an adult. So it's a whole, a long period of time. But I definitely had anxiety talking about that. And my book does go into how I overcame that, and also has practical steps at the end of each chapter as well, kind of like a self-help. So hopefully that answers your question. And I do still deal with anxiety in certain ways as well. Katrina says, definitely all of what you've mentioned, mainly for me, stress from work, issues at home. Ooh, Alexis says, insecurity about appearances. Yeah, because looking at the world, the TV, the magazine, social media, they highlight all that's supposedly perfect, right? Go ahead, Rachel.
I just wanted to share, if anyone's interested, there's a book by Anita Johnston. She's a PhD, and she wrote the book called Eating in the Light of the Moon. It's how women can transform their relationships with food through myths, metaphors, and storytelling. And it's an amazing book, and one that I would humbly recommend. So that was all. Thanks.
Could you say the title of it again?
Sure. It's called Eating in the Light of the Moon.
Eating in the Light of the Moon. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Beth Ann? Are you there, Beth?
Yeah, my button's been stuck, so I had to go in and out of the room.
Okay.
So yeah, well, mine started some years back with, being too skinny when I was a teenager in high school, and then, coming from emotional, unstable parents, and then using food after they triggered me with certain type of toxic behavior as a coping mechanism to stop. Then fast forward, a psychologically abusive marriage for years. I used food again and gained a bunch of weight during that time during the marriage, and I was really hurting my health a lot. So I felt like I was on a self-destructive path, and then fast forward, then I lost like 160 pounds and then went through a traumatic divorce 4 years ago, and my thyroid crashed. And I think I do have Hashimoto's because I have like so many food sensitivities, but I mean, I can still eat it, but like I'm always inflamed, like my stomach just doesn't, respond to even, you know what I mean? Even I can eat a peach with skin. Today I ate a peach and my stomach went, okay, what did you just eat? You know, and then so the thyroid, and then I just went through menopause. So between the estrogen, the thyroid, and recovering from, really trying to watch when things happen that are out of control, being aware of the emotional triggers that happen within me from outside circumstances that impact me internally.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to a lot of that. Thank you so much for sharing, and I'm glad that you're here. You've been through a lot. You're strong. I can tell. Um, the thing about control, yeah, that control is an illusion, right? We think that we can control so many things, and when we can't, it just kind of sends us down a road of all types of things. But those are good things. Some other things that we can experience that trigger us are being self-critical. I'm guilty of this. There's usually self-judgment surrounding the appearance, like Alexis was saying. Many emotional eaters uh, tend to be. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
No,
Someone said no.
You're kind of muffled, but we can hear you.
it seems like it could be somewhat louder. I mean, we can hear you, but it seems like maybe you could talk louder or something, or project louder.
Okay, what about now?
Better.
Better?
Better.
Okay. So we can be self-critical, like Alexis was saying, about our appearance and our weight. Many emotional eaters tend to be self-critical, especially when we mess up, right? When we're trying to lose weight, we're on this health journey, and oh, this thing happened and this threw me off, and I was doing so good, and I went and had that piece of cake, or I went and had that pasta. Well, we're not perfect, right? So the thing is to just admit and acknowledge where we may have stepped off, and then just get back on the path. um, we can also feel a lack of power, like I was saying before, and how Beth Ann was talking about lack of power or control over our lives. And this can lead to secretive eating, because that's something that we can control, right? With everything else going haywire, we can control when we eat, what we eat, and how we eat. I've done that. I've gone to Overeaters Anonymous because I realized that my eating had turned into a real sugar addiction. Buying things and hiding them in my car, buying things and eating them before I came home so my kids would not see. And that was the one thing of probably a few things that I could control, that when my life was out of control. So not having the control was a trigger for me. Uh, Another thing is emotional hunger. So when we have an emotional need that is unmet, or there's a desire for, say, companionship or comfort, we can then turn to food to kind of be that temporary, replacement for the comfort. But key word on temporary, right? Because that doesn't help us in the long run. And then when we do all of those things, we can feel shame or self-judgment, in addition to fear of being judged by other people. Because unless you have friends or people that you're close to that may be in some of those similar battles like you, many people don't want to share that. they don't know how to say, hey, I want to talk to you about something I'm going through without fear of that person saying, oh my God, did you hear about Monaye? She does this and that. So what do? We keep it to ourselves, right? Jeremy says, I feel this lack of control when trying to manage type 1 diabetes. It can be a constant struggle. Yeah. With the eating. Is that what you mean, Jeremy? You can take yourself off mute if you want. You still here? Okay. Rachel?
I don't have diabetes, but I do struggle with medical and GI issues. And I think the part that I find challenging is that growing up, for me, things were all about appearances and being, very fashion forward and being thin. And when I say thin, it was more of an emaciated look. I came from a family of dancers back more than one generation. And so I struggle with a lot of medical things, and my weight is constantly fluctuating. And right now, I cannot absorb anything that I eat by mouth. And so for about 3 years, I have been on IV nutrition. But I think the hard part for me is it's like, oh, okay, eating disorder that I used to struggle with is under better control now because I have coping skills to manage the underlying emotions that led to those behaviors to begin with. But now it seems like it's, as simple as like not hooking up to IV fluids and not hooking up to TPN. And if I need to, I can lose weight. And I recognize that that's a really unhealthy mindset and that's a dangerous path to follow. But I did just want to acknowledge that that is something that I struggle with. And I recognize that I need to not so much be looking at those particular maladaptive coping skills, but what's underneath that is making me feel the urge to do that, because that is where the problem lies, not in the symptom itself.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And I hope that, you're receiving the right care for what you're going through. And I think it's important that you do recognize when you have that thought process is not as productive. So I think knowing where you are and then where you're headed, and you're able to kind of pull yourself back, I think that's key as well. And Jeremy, yes, I saw your comment. You couldn't unmute. Yeah, this app sometimes gets a little stuck, so that's fine. Yeah, it is a battle. We all have things that we deal with, and food is everywhere and it's easily accessible, and it can become a beast. Another thing, though, that we can be triggered by is a history of poor relationships. When we have people that leave us, or we experience a great deal of pain or a fear of rejection, food kind of becomes that protective barrier against allowing people to get close the next time. I'm not gonna step out and, date or whatever. I'm just gonna be with my food. My food has never failed me. It's always been there for me. It doesn't judge me. It's going to make me feel good. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to anybody? That's how I felt a lot. And then the big one, cultural or familial traditions. I don't know, what your backgrounds are, but how many of you, outside of Thanksgiving or Christmas or what have you, but you were met with expectations growing up. Whatever's on your plate, you need to eat all of your food. The clean plate club, right?
Yes.
regardless of how full you were. Nope, you better eat every bit of that because there are starving children over in another country, and the whole guilt trip thing. And it's like, but I'm full, right? I don't want any more. So it's like, what did that do to us subconsciously? Welcome, Lily. What did that do to you as a child, having to feel like you had to eat? Did it make you hide food? Did it make you not want food? Did it go the other way and make you want to binge food? So it's just, I just find that so interesting. Like, how can we work towards changing that whole narrative, right? So I don't know, and I should have asked you guys in the beginning. I don't know if you have access to something to write on, a pen or what have you, a piece of paper, but I'm just going to give you some tips. Let's see, I have a comment here. Oh, yeah, Katrina says she couldn't get up from the table unless her plate was empty. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I have stories. I can remember so many things. But some things that we can do, we can start an emotion journal. I journal, not as much as I used to, but I journal about just how my day was, or if I had an experience or something that, really stuck with me, good day, bad days. But maybe if you start an emotion journal, when you feel the urge to eat emotionally, make a note, actual pen and paper, pencil and paper, because I feel like when you write something down, you kind of remember it more so than just, I know we're all electronic now. Everybody puts the notes in their phones. But an actual pen and paper, make a note of how you feel in that moment. What is happening, and any actions that you tried to take before you went to eat the food. Did you have a thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this? Did you eat it right away? Did you try to talk yourself out of it? Right?
No.
And then you can also get a drink. I know it sounds silly, but I'm not thirsty. Get a drink of water. If you're a tea or coffee drinker, I'm a coffee drinker here, love my coffee. But I've heard that if you add cinnamon or something, a little spicy, or maybe have like a chai tea, these are known to kind of curb our cravings. So that may, in that moment, although it may take some time or practice, that may help you in that moment, curb that craving for whatever you're going to go and get. And then we can also just take a few minutes and practice some deep breathing exercises. Focus on your senses. What can you hear in that moment? What can you touch? What is around you? What can you see? Or try to listen to maybe a guided meditation. There's all types of apps, the Calm app, which I love, all types of things that can help you kind of recenter yourselves, recenter your thinking, calm down all of that anxiety, or even the good old sun and fresh air. Go outside. I think I have some Orlando or some Florida people on the call. We have too much sun, but go out and get some of Mother Nature, right? And
When
this
it's
will help
not
you.
raining.
Exactly. Look, before 3 p.m., right?
Yes.
Before 3 p.m., get a good walk outside, 10, 15 minutes. And then all of those senses that I just talked about while you're out there, the birds, the trees, the wind, all those things, all the nature that we have, that's a blessing to us. And then we have to make sure that we're eating enough of the right types of foods, colorful veggies, lean proteins, and healthy fats and fruits. Now, if you're in a position where, I think it may have been icy, I'm not sure, I apologize, excuse me, where you don't feel like eating, or the thought of the food just totally turns you off, get something that has some type of nutritional value, whether that is the protein shake, or whether maybe a fruit smoothie that you could make, something that you could just sip, or, maybe even jello, just something. And then doing that along with some of those other tips may help you in that moment until you feel better. Does that make sense? Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
Your heart? Okay. And then if you have the paper or something that you can just, jot some things down, I just want to give you some things that whenever you're getting ready to go through a moment or you're in a frenzy, maybe you can look at this in that moment. So what I'd like you to do is jot down 3 people that you can call when you need to vent or talk. That's the first thing. Whether that's a friend, a sibling, a counselor, a parent, pastor, whomever. 3 people. Write their names. Give me a second to do that. If you don't have people, Lori, now, are you saying close people or just anyone that you trust?
Both. Well, that doesn't make sense. I know. I don't really have anyone I can call.
Okay. Well, what I would do is maybe write down 3 things you would like to do in that moment, or something that would make you feel good if you could do those things, right? Okay, heart. Okay. And this kind of okay, Susan says she's in Lori's shoes, okay. And then these other things may help as well, because there are about four different things I'm going to give you. The second thing kind of piggybacks off of what I just said. Jot down 3 ways that you like to relax. I love a good massage. I go every month. It just takes the weight literally off my shoulders, because that's where all of my stress goes. Massage time, sauna time, whether you like to read, get you a good book, something that just takes you away, because when we read, we can create our own picture of whatever we're reading about. We can imagine, we can create the visual of the characters and of the whole scene. A distraction, a beautiful distraction. Go take a hot shower. That hot shower does amazing stuff for our body. When we have a hot shower, it helps with relaxing our muscles, breathing, just letting all of the things of the day, of the moment, just go down the drain with the water. And then another idea is stretching or yoga. I like going to hot yoga. It's just something about being in that room, leaving all that sweat on the mat. So whatever you like to do to relax. Then the next three things would be 3 places that you can go without distractions. I don't know how many moms are on the phone, but when my kids were small, I wanted to just go in my room. Leave me alone. Somewhere quiet, right? Don't bother me right now. I need a few moments. So whether that's your quiet room, going outdoors for a walk, bike ride, what have you, get in your car and just drive for a little bit, a park, just somewhere that you can go, just yourself, just to kind of regather yourself. And then the next 3 things is 3 things you can do to distract yourself. Watch a movie, do a puzzle, play music, dance. Any music lovers? I love me some music. Love, love, love music. Alexis, yep, love it. Yes. And then this is so important, this next thing. Write down 3 positive things that you can say to yourself. I like to say, I am statements. I am strong. I am capable of handling my emotions. Food is for fuel. I deserve better, right? Because we do. Food does not have the right to have power over us. We deserve a better life with good quality so we can be there for our kids, our future grandkids, and just for ourselves. And I like to, look at myself in the mirror when I say these things. You've been through a lot, but you're still here. And then lastly, don't be afraid to seek further help if you need it. Talked about therapy a little bit earlier. Therapy does not make you crazy. It does not make you weak. It's you doing what you need to do for yourself in that moment. So does anybody have anything that they would like to share about tonight? Questions, comments? We're all good? Well, that is all that I have for tonight.
It's Cindy.
Was someone speaking?
Yep, it's Cindy.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to mention the three people to that I can talk to. There's one thing about people, you have to really choose who you're talking to and telling your business. You have to trust these people, right?
Yes.
So it's really hard to I would say I probably really literally have maybe like two or three, that I can call, and I actually hesitate sometimes.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. I'm in the same bucket. Like it's two for sure, and that's, including family. And then three is a possible, because like you said, you just have to have a little bit of discernment. It's just a lot of things that go with that. Judgment. I don't really know, is this person really going to be listening to me? Or are they listening so that they can judge me and then go and say something to someone else? So it's all those things go through, at least through mine. Welcome, Sam. Very grateful to have found this space. Something I struggle with, relationship with food. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it could be a slippery slope. So, food is a battle. I haven't perfected it. Like I said, I still have my moments. I have my classes, and I'm not perfect by any means. But if I can share what's helped me, then that's what I'm here for. And so I thank you all for joining in and providing your feedback and your discussions tonight. And please, please, please leave a review. I'm on my third week, so I really would appreciate that. And I hope to see you all next week. We have a good topic on grief and gratitude, so gonna be good. And thank you again to Circles as well. All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.